Welcome back to my walkthrough of Monster Hunter World. In this episode, I'm going to go in here. This is one of 3 rooms you can unlock throughout this game. It's a very basic bones kind of room.
We've placed some basic gear for you in that equipment box. Make sure to choose a weapon that suits you.
You can read that if you want. Right. We have 5 armor slots. So they give us 2 sets of armor. I'm going to go with the chainmail gear because I like the skill better. Oops. See right here, Master Gatherer. You can see down there at the bottom right which button you need to press in order to check the skill. Speeds up gathering, prevents knockbacks while gathering. Gonna do a lot of gathering the first few quests, so I think that'll be more beneficial to me. This one, however, you can see it has levels 1, 2, and 3. That means, let's say you find another piece of armor with the same skill later on down the line. You can wear both those pieces of armor, and they'll stack on top of each other. One thing you can also do, which I recommend, is rearrange stuff. You'll notice that at first I had 3 slots, or 3 pages, I should say, in the item box. But you can see, if I put something in the last slot, it'll create another page. So, I'm going to quickly rearrange all this stuff, and I'll meet you back here.
Want to get going?
Once you're ready, head to the canteen. I'll be there waiting with a quest.
You can get more familiar with your weapons at the training area. Just talk to the housekeeper to get started.
And that is what we are going to do.
Okay, let's run through the hunting basics. First, ready your weapon.
Not quite yet. So here's a training area. Pretty much everything you need in order to get used to controls is here. All the controls you can see are on the top right, and if they're not there, you can see them throughout the rest of the screen. Like for example, if I wanted to use a potion, it says down there on the bottom right to use it. If I hold down, for me it's L1. Square and circle, I can cycle through them. Or I can use the radial menu. However, there is something I want to change in the options regarding that. Radial menu settings. As you can see before, in order to use one of these, I would have to flick it up and let go. But I found that I've often used items that I didn't want to use on accident, so now I've changed it to where I have to actually click the right thumbstick. Gives me better control. Anyway, you can see at the top right, that's your health and stamina. Pretty self-explanatory. You do things like dodge and run, you lose stamina. Eventually, if it goes down too far, you'll start running like this, then you'll have to stop.
Run out of stamina, you'll be winded and vulnerable. Veteran hunters know to always keep an eye on that gauge.
Yeah, what she said. Anyway, go over here. Eat a ration. I highly recommend getting used to this radial menu, though. It's very, very convenient. Anyway, training area. There's places to climb. Vines to swing from. Ledges to jump off of, a slope to slide down. textured wall over here to run up and jump off of. May not seem significant, but all the weapons have their own sliding and jumping moves, so that can be useful. Right over here, some stones. Pick them up, put them in your slinger.
You can use that as slinger ammo. Great for getting a monster's attention or creating a distraction.
Right. For me, it's aim with L2.
Clever, you can use the slinger to distract monsters.
Right, yeah. And then shoot with R2. But you aim your slinger at one of those, that's a wedge beetle. Press the little prompt that comes up, and you can swing to that. There's another one over there. You can swing from wedge beetle to wedge beetle in midair. Very useful. There's one particular map that there's a lot of those because a lot of verticality to it. But enough on that. One thing I'll touch upon is the target camera. So right now it's set to focus camera, which I personally don't like. For me, this is the right thumbstick I'm clicking. But I'm actually going to change this too. Instead, I'm going to go to target camera because I'm going to be using the camera a lot, going around like this. So if I choose to look at something, I'm starting to walk away. I just tap L1. Here, let me aim at the big thing. Okay. Tap L1. It'll center it, but it won't follow it, as you can see. I prefer to have that kind of control. Anyway, let's get into the weapons.
You can use the item box to manage your inventory.
As you've seen before, they give you one of each type, so you can test out all of them, trying to figure out which one you like the most. When you go through the story mode, I recommend focusing on 2 or 3 different weapon types, because if you decide to use all of them, you'll probably slow down in terms of getting to the end, because you're going to be having to upgrade them all, and there are a lot of branching paths. If you want a detailed guide on how to use all these weapons, I suggest going to Eric's Gaming's channel. I'll leave a link in the description to his playlist. He goes through all of them, shows all the combos and everything, but over there on the right you can see the attack, sharpness, affinity, and element. Attack, that's your basic raw damage, but I'm not doing 112 damage per hit with this weapon. What that is kind of like a basic average DPS in terms of raw damage. Sharpness, kind of self-explanatory. You hit a boss or any monster, or even that training dummy over there, you'll lose sharpness. This particular weapon has 3 levels of sharpness: yellow, orange, and red. If it goes down too far, it'll go down a level. You'll do less damage, and you might start bouncing off of a monster's more armored parts of its body, so gotta keep that up with a whetstone. Affinity, that is the stat that it affects how much your weapon crits. Let's just say that. We won't have to worry about that for a while, though. Element, there are 5 elements in this game, as well as 5 statuses. 5 elements are fire, water, ice, thunder, and dragon. The statuses are blast, stun, paralysis, sleep, and poison. All the monsters have weaknesses and resistances to all types of damage. There are 4 types of damage. The elemental / status, I suppose. There's cutting. There's blunt, which weapons like the hammer are specialized in. And then there's shot damage, which is what these bowguns and I suppose these bows are for. That's the kind of damage they do. So you kind of got to pick and choose. So if you've never used a weapon before,
the sword and shield is a close-range weapon set that focuses on agility and dodging. It's great
Right.
for beginners.
So now he does say this weapon is good for beginners. It is in the sense that the combos aren't very, let's say, complicated. It does have a lot going for it, if I can show this. This weapon has access to a jump attack. Jumping attacks do mounting damage. You can do blunt damage with the shield. Blunt damage does stun damage, so you can knock out a monster with this as well. You can guard. Not a very strong guard, but it's useful in a pinch. You can use your slinger while your weapon's out. You can even use items while the weapon's out. See? Very versatile weapon. Now, I have arranged these in the pages of what I believe are the more easier ones to get into. These are the simpler ones. These are more intermediate. These are more advanced. Now, the reason I would like to call these the simpler ones, well, you can play a little movie down there. For me, it's triangle.
Close-range weapon set that lets you maneuver quickly and guard against attacks. Close-range offensive weapons that are used to deal a rapid flurry of blows.
Right. So, you can see it kind of gives you an idea of what is accessible to new players, but some of them I don't agree with, like this one.
A defense-oriented weapon used to approach targets with charges and fancy footwork.
Yeah, it gives it a 1 star. I give it kind of 2.5 maybe, because, watch this.
A lance is a close-range weapon set with strong defensive capabilities. Guard while waiting for a chance to strike.
Right. What he said. But poke, poke, poke. Maybe hop back to reposition. You can't really dodge with this move. Sorry, you can't dodge with this weapon. Anyway, can't really dodge with it, but the shield here is very, very strong. You're basically a stalwart tank. The thing that makes this weapon a little more complex is the counter. Oop, I did it wrong there. Let's wait a bit. There we go. If you counter correctly, you'll automatically attack. These counters, what they require is kind of a knowledge of what the monster's about to do. But if you don't want to do that, you can just sit behind your shield, wait for the monster to come to you, and poke, 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 block when you need to. Yeah, it's pretty simple. So, I don't really agree with the game on giving it 1 star for accessibility to newcomers. Another one I don't agree with is this one.
A weapon that stores energy in its sword.
2 stars. No. I give this thing half a star for accessibility to new players. It's a beastly weapon, but watch this.
The charge blade has 2 forms, sword and axe. Store up energy in a file, then release it through the axe. Up too much blade energy. You need to charge so your attacks don't get deflected.
Were you able to follow along with that? I'm not even going to get into guard points. Very complex weapon, so you're probably going to be sitting here for a while if you want to get used to this one. Now, I personally do not dislike any weapon. I like some more than others. Like, say, the insect blade. I like it a lot, in no small part, because it has a bug. I like bugs, they're fascinating.
The blade is a close-range weapon that lets you control insects.
But again, this one's a little more complex, so it might take you a while to get used to. So yeah, you can sit here and just figure out what you want to use. Pretty much have all the time in the world. Now going through this walkthrough, I'm going to use all the weapons at least once, because I am competent in using all of them. For now, I will be going with the hammer. I'll meet you back out in Astera. Oh, and I almost forgot. If you go into your hunter's notes, you can go down to weapon controls. And I'll show you some basics, so... yeah. Another thing I'm going to do is set my target settings to large monsters only. Head armor. I'm going to hide my head armor for now. You can choose to hide it in only cutscenes if you wish. So. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention. Go here to controls. Sheath settings. Switch it to manual sheath. Just trust me on this. Alright? I bow before the housekeeper. I will definitely say that no weapon is truly better than the other. Yeah, some do more damage, but some are more efficient. So, there really is no best weapon. And some weapons are easier to use against certain monsters than others. Although I will say, if you want to use a ranged weapon, I do recommend the bow. It's the easiest, and you don't have to worry so much about ammo types and recoil and all that kind of stuff. So, that's just my basic advice. Nothing's stopping you from using the bowguns. They are fun. I do recommend staying in there for a while and getting used to controls, because even as a veteran, I've been playing since Try and Free to Me Night. I must have stayed in there for 3 hours first playing this game, getting used to all the controls. Controls are a little unintuitive for, an action game. But that's kind of one of the big hurdles of this game. Opens up a lot of opportunities and stuff to do. Anyway, hey buddy. Okay, do just that.
Handlers sort through the research commission's leads.
You see someone with an exclamation mark?
Worth our attention become quests.
Thank you. You see someone with an exclamation mark? Thank you, Navi. See someone... see someone with an exclamation mark above their head? That means they want to talk to you. They sometimes will have side quests and stuff. Sometimes they just want to congratulate you for something. Okay. Oops, didn't mean to skip that so much. But basically, you just buy stuff. You can buy it, put it in your pouch, put it in your box. Stuff like that. Okay, we can go up that stairwell there, but I'm going to use the lift. Canteen. Real quick, talk to the chef. He wants to see us. Basically what he's saying is you eat here and you get certain buffs and stat boosts.
Oh yeah. What are we waiting for? The new world awaits.
Pretty simple. Pick a quest, accept. Now, excuse me. Alright, what I said in the intro of this series, remember what I said about the canteen ingredients, unlocking them? This is what I mean. You unlock them via side quests or picking up certain items in the maps. So, I will show you how to get all of them. So, but we'll just go for the meat platter for now. Stamina plus 25, attack up small. Let you see this animation. That's just something kind of cute to watch while you're waiting for your quest to finish. Okay. Our quest is finished, so finish loading. Off we go. It's suddenly nighttime because I spent so much time in the training area.
This is our first job. Let's do a quick review of quest rules. Rule number 1. Complete the objective to complete the quest. Easy, right? Each quest has an objective. You can't consider the quest done until you complete that objective. Our current objective is to eliminate a specified number of Jaggers. Let's check them out. We ran into some Jaggers on the way to base. The small monsters, remember? I think we saw them somewhere around here. Want to check it out? Rule number 2. Use the supply box. The Commission supplies us with a loadout of certain items for each quest. They're in the supply box over there. Have a look and decide what you should take along. Ready to go.
Before we do go, though, you can go to this tent. Now, right now we only have one camp in this map, but there is a total of 4 on this particular map at least. There's at least 2 in all the maps. So, we're going to go in here. In all the camps, you can go into a tent.
Hey!
So, you can change your equipment. So, you can choose any of your weapons that you want. You can change your gear. The only thing you can't change are your decorations. You don't have to worry too much about that, though. The one way around that is to create weapons, like, excuse me, equipment loadouts. Because let's say I go into equipment and I hit the options. Pages upon pages of which you can put a loadout. Just for example, put that there. So every time you go in, it goes to that exact same loadout, and you don't have to switch decorations or anything like that around. So, same thing with the item box. Manage items. I'm hitting R1 to put all this away, because I don't really need it. Definitely going to put away this ammo. Now what I'm going to do is make another loadout. This also saves your radial menu, so between item loadouts you can customize your radial menu to whatever you want. I'm going to call this one Gathering. You can change your Palico's equipment. You can also do this back at your house. Palico has equipment just like you do. Just going to keep them like that for a while. This right here is a gadget. This is a Vigor Wasp spray. What this is your Palico will put a little stone like that down, and a Vigor Wasp will be next to it, and you can go up to it, press circle, or at least for the PlayStation you can, or whatever it is for your platform, and that thing will heal you, just like those vitality flowers you saw before. Little spray of green stuff will go everywhere, and it'll heal you instantly. Sometimes your Palico will simply bring you a Vigor Wasp. So we can go back out. Right over here are these little rock stool things. If you forget to eat at the canteen back at base, then you can eat over here. Couldn't do that in previous games. Oops.
Oh yeah. Hey partner.
And I'm a cheapskate, so I'm gonna take all this ammo. Alright, let's go.
Want to get going? Uh-huh.
See, my scout flies came over here to look at this herb. Automatically crafts to a potion.
Be careful.
Go. Yes, please. If you go to your crafting list, you can see all these options. You can choose what you want to have auto-crafted by hitting triangle. There are different types. You can also put stuff on your radial menu. Like, let's say I want to change the barbecue spit to craft a flash pod. So if I have that flash bug, as it says there up on the screen, in my inventory, and I have a slot available, I can create the flash pod by just clicking that. So that's what the radial menu is very useful for. So you have to get used to it. Just gonna move this along. More herbs. It's pretty
Ready
easy
your
to gather.
weapon before attacking. Keep in mind that what you're able to do depends on whether or not your weapon is drawn. When you're investigating or gathering items, you'll generally want to keep your weapon sheathed.
I'll mark gathering sites and monster positions on the wildlife map for you.
Here's some honey.
Gather honey and mix it with a potion to make mega potions.
Now, what the handler just said there is if you go in here, look at your map.
Wildlife map keeps track of where you are
Yeah.
and where the scout flies are taking you. You can also use it to keep tabs on monsters.
You can see that, you know, the herbs that I picked up, the stone, the vitality flower, stuff like that. Once you find them, it shows up on your map. So you can also see that it's kind of grayed out right now, but it eventually fills back up. That means it'll soon be ready to be plucked again, you know, picked up again. So resources do respawn. So you can go on a resource hunt if you want. There's red pits right over there.
Over here!
I wanted to pick that up. It's another form of slinger ammo. It's very basic. Not much different from the stones.
Those are the monsters we're after.
Let's see how you hold up when you're on your own.
Oh wow, I didn't expect to kill them all in one hit.
They're on the run. Don't let them get away.
Right.
Grab all the monster materials you can.
If you have little monsters close to you, all close to you like this, in one spot, you can carve them all by just holding down the circle button. Or whatever it is for your platform, whatever you use to carve. Gonna pick up a few things, like these parashrooms.
Over here!
I know. There's another one over here. Yep, there it is. Before I go in there, I'm gonna go to this bone pile that's over here, because I'm going to need some of these bones. And just as important are these. This is an ore vein. Again, holding down the gather button, which is for me a circle.
Whoops.
They're all looking at me. Flash fly. These things can't do much damage unless you're, you know, falling asleep at the chair. They're not gonna do much to you.
The monster's been immobilized. Now's your chance. Keep it together, okay? Okay. Let's head home and report back to the old man.
There's another bone pile right there. Pick that up. And I wonder if I'm very quick. Maybe I can get that other ore vein. I know where it is. Ran out of stamina there. It's over here. Can I get it? Can I get it? Oh, can't get the last one because it gave me a light crystal. Oh well. Basic materials. I'm holding down X to put them all in my supply box. This is stuff my cat gathered.
Good to see you.
Uh-huh.
And listen up.
materials, why don't we head over to the smithy to see what you can do with them?
Okay. This lady here is just going to talk about the gathering hub. So if you have someone in the same like playroom as you can go up there to the gathering hub and you can see them.
Okay, now that we've unlocked online play, I want to talk about a few things. The game tells you how to create and or join a session, but I will tell you this. When you go into a session, you join one, just a random one, there's some basic etiquette to be aware of, like some basic manners, especially when you're hunting with strangers. None of this is unreasonable or hard to follow, so bear with me. First off, when you join a session that has a specified target, let's say Devil Joe, don't go in and ask for help on a different target. This may seem obvious to most of you watching, but this has happened to me, and not just in this Monster Hunter game, it's happened in the past. A recent example was when Kulve Taroth was available. If you don't know what Kulve Taroth is, don't worry, just hear me out. Someone came in begging people in the session to help him with his Behemoth quest. Don't do something like that. There's only 16 slots in a session. Now, if someone's coming in and they're not wanting to do the same monster like as everyone else is, then they're taking up that slot that someone else could fill who needs that monster and the parts from that monster. So be aware of that. Don't do something like that. If you want help, find a session that's doing that boss. Failing that, you can send out an SOS flare in your quest. There are people out there who love to help other people and will likely respond to your SOS just for the heck of it, So you getting help, the chances are pretty high. If that doesn't work, go to forums or community pages. Another important thing is to try and be prepared. Make item sets and equipment sets so your friends don't have to wait so long to go questing. I know it's sometimes hard not to fiddle around with your armor and items, but the game gives you shortcuts, and it's much more efficient to use them. Another thing to be aware of is weapon etiquette. This relates to friendly fire, positioning, weapon priority, and a few crowd control methods. Some weapons are more prone to friendly fire than others. If your main weapon has problems with friendly fire, try your best to avoid it. You may not hurt your teammates, but tripping them and knocking them out of a combo will be frustrating to them. On some occasions, you can use friendly fire to help your teammates, like smacking them when they're stunned, but in most cases, friendly fire isn't very helpful. Even then, sometimes it happens though. Sometimes you will get tripped or trip someone else. If you see that, try not to get frustrated and reposition yourselves. But now onto the subject of positioning, especially in relation to weapon priority. What I mean by this is that in some situations it's very common for weapons to have priority over others. For example, if there's a hammer or hunting horn user in the group, they get priority on attacking the head of the boss. More blunt attacks to the head means more knockouts, which means more opportunities to attack. Even if you do intend to attack the head, try not to get in the way of the hammers and hunting horns. Don't trip them, don't knock them away, try your best not to do that. Another example of weapon priority is Wakeup Damage. When a monster is asleep, the first attack done to it is doubled. If you have a greatsword user in the group, and you're not sleep bombing, then let the greatsword user try and wake up the sleeping monster with a true charge slash for maximum damage. But on the subject of sleep bombing, crowd control is another thing to be aware of. If someone in the group intends to put the boss to sleep, then try your best not to mess it up. When you hear the battle music suddenly end and everything goes quiet all of a sudden, immediately stop what you're doing and sheath your weapon. Whoever put it to sleep may want to sleep bomb it. What that means is that they'll place barrel bombs around the monster, usually the head, and wake up the monster with the explosion. One final thing I should mention about being in a group is that you should never expect someone to heal you. There are various ways you can heal someone in this game, and many players will bring along life powders to help other players in a pinch. But remember, in the majority of these fights, you're expected to take care of yourself. If someone does heal you, you thank them. Most of the time when you die, it's your fault. Or sometimes you just have some bad luck. It happens. Never blame other people for your death. It's very unlikely that another person will cause you to faint. Now onto the subject of guild cards. This is like a personalized ID card for your hunter. You can choose a title, a background, a pose for your hunter and Palico, and once you've done that, you can send your guild card to other players so that they can find you more easily. It's similar to sending someone a friend request. If you don't see a particular background or title that you want, then you're going to have to unlock it via a quest or something else down the line. Now onto shoutouts and gestures. Shoutouts are these short, automatic messages that pop up in chat when something happens, like when you use a gesture or when you're placing a bomb or a trap. It's just a small thing that helps with some basic communication and you can have fun with it. For example, the default shoutout for when you get stunned is "I'm in trouble" or something like that, but a friend of mine changed theirs to "What pretty stars," because when you get stunned you have those little sparkles in front of your face, whatever. Anyway, you can also assign gestures to your radio menu. While most of them are just for fun, one of them in particular is useful for a specific boss down the line, which I will show at the end of this walkthrough. There's also the chat menu. You can type it in just using the controller, but it's better to use a USB keyboard. A lot of people just party up and voice chat anyway. We also have the party list. This is where you can check people's equipment and stuff like that without having to see their guild card or anything like that. You can just kind of see, who's in the same session as you. Lastly, let's talk about squads. This is basically a guild, or a clan. You can give it a name, a logo, a symbol, whatever. And up to 50 players can join a single squad, while you yourself can join up to 8. When a squad is created, a special session will be available to join in the list of squad sessions. Only players that are part of that squad can join freely. Others will have to be invited. Only the squad leader can invite other players to their squad or squad sessions. Before we get back to the walkthrough, here is something I recommend. If you have a friend you want to hunt with, it can be a bit of a chore to try and group up for story quests because you have to both watch the cutscene in order to hunt in the same quest together. If you have a friend that's higher rank and has already done that quest, it's not as difficult. They can just join you from the hub once the cutscene ends. But if you have a friend who is at the same spot in the story as you, then what you'll have to do is one person will have to leave their quest or return from quest specifically, and then join the other. So that's not very fun. So instead, take on a very fast, very simple quest in the location you both want to hunt in. When the quest finishes, choose to return to camp together at the end of the quest. If you do that, you'll arrive at camp on an expedition, and you can hunt any boss that is present on the map. There's no limit to how many times you can faint, so you can go try and kill a tougher boss if you want. Keep in mind that a boss will exit the area if too much time passes, so you still have a bit of a time limit to kill it. But you can always wait until another one spawns in. Using this method, I actually helped someone get Anjanath gear much earlier than usual. Okay, that should be all for now. Let's get back to the walkthrough.
Right. That guy right there forges stuff. You can buy stuff from this lady, but you probably won't at all. I never have. Although she does have some handy side quests later, so.
My.
There you are, Fiver.
So I'm using the hammer. Upgrade that. It's pretty simple. Let you see that animation at least once. And now, as you can see, it does more damage. It's gone up to green sharpness. And it's looking pretty good. Alright, well, I think that does it for this episode. Next episode, we will be tackling a side quest I know is coming up. And then, hopefully, tackling our first boss. See you then.